before you sell your stocks to buy a house, watch this. If you sell stocks, you'll pay taxes and lose gains. Plus, selling your stocks now is like eating the goose that lays the golden eggs. Yes, you get one good meal, but you lose a lifetime of wealth. So you spent years building this, and now you're about to hand this over to Uncle Sam. So let's talk about smarter ways to buy your home without burning your stock gains. I'm gonna show you how to buy a house without selling your stocks, without paying a bunch of taxes, and without losing the money your stocks could be making. In this video, I'll show you the stack and stay strategy. It's 3 ways the wealthy keep their stocks growing and still buy a home without losing a ton of money in taxes. First, I'll show you 2 smart ways to get your cash without selling your stocks. Second, we'll look at tax tips when owning a home. Third, I'll explain FIFO, LIFO, and specific ID. By the way, I'm Nathan, helped over 500 families, fund renovated over 15 units, and mortgage is all I do all day long. All right, so let's say you've got a ton of money in the stock market and you need a down payment. Most people think I have to sell, but the good news is you don't. Check this out. Enter the SBLOC and HELOC. You're basically borrowing against your investments, not selling them. So please note this is completely different from buying stocks on margin, like where you buy Apple stock on margin. So this is based on stocks you already own. Here's an analogy I like. Think of your stock portfolio like a golden goose. Selling your stocks is like eating the goose because you're hungry, but using an SBLOC, that's like borrowing a few eggs from a farmer to curb your appetite. You still get the money you need today without losing the future eggs. That's the power of using leverage instead of liquidation. Okay, let's go over some pros and cons. Pros, so you don't pay any capital gains tax, plus your investments continue to compound. On the cons, interest rates are usually higher than mortgage rate, and you have to factor in the SBLOC payment into your math. Let's say you need $100,000. One option is you can sell the stocks. In this example, let's say you're in California, so you could pay $15,000 to $20,000 in taxes. Now your portfolio is also at zero. And again, you also have to pay those taxes. So it's kind of a double whammy. Using the SBLOC, sometimes I call it the SBLOC, you would keep the $100,000 of taxes, and then you would borrow that $100,000 at, let's say, a 7% rate, as an example, using the SBLOC. That cost could be around $583 a month in interest, so that's roughly $7,000 a year. But here's the thing, you still own the stock. Technically, the portfolio balance didn't go down. And if your stocks grow 10% next year, you're still ahead and winning. Okay, now let's talk about the HELOC, or home equity line of credit. So if you already own a home, a HELOC lets you tap into the equity or your house wallet to help fund your next one. So instead of using your stocks, you're using your house. So it's very similar to the SBLOC, but usually the rates are a little lower, and plus you get to keep your stock portfolio invested as well. There are 2 things that the wealthy analyze in terms of lines of credits. So whether it's for stocks or the house. So again, lines of credits are your SBLOC and HELOC. Things that they look at are rates and how long they have it open for. So it could be 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, and beyond. And the next thing that they look at is future value. And this is where they would ask, do I see home prices going up or stocks going up? So whichever one they think will continue to go up, that's the one that most people will use. So I'll give you an example, right? Like if they think the stocks are gonna go down to 0, as a crazy example, you obviously wanna sell the stocks at the peak. So the goal isn't just to get the house. The goal is to also keep your money working while you do it. But buying a home doesn't just grow your money, it can also save you money at tax time. So let me show you how. So how does owning a home actually help you save on taxes? It's different between single and married. Spoiler alert, it actually helps single guys and single ladies even more. So check this out. There's a standard deduction and itemized deductions. Promise, I'll keep it simple. The standard deduction is like, hey, IRS, just give me the default discount. No paperwork, no questions, just super quick and easy. So in 2025, the standard deduction was around $13,850. And for married, that was about $27,700. Again, these are in dollars. So let's just round up to $14,000 and $28,000. So this just means that we show the IRS that we're gonna make $14,000 or $28,000 less in income. And remember, deduction equals less income, which means less taxes. Then there's itemized deductions, which is like saying, hold on, I think I can find even more discounts if I do the math myself. So here's where owning a house will actually help you, especially if you're single. So you can actually write off $750,000 of interest and $10,000 in property taxes. So as you can imagine, if you live in a state where you max out your interest and you max out your property taxes, you're gonna be maximizing your deductions. So this is where the wealthy max out mortgage interest and keep money invested by figuring out, is my itemized deductions greater than my standard deductions? If it is, then they roll with getting a mortgage. So again, if you own a home, single or married, you wanna compare your itemized deductions to your standard deductions. Again, the standard is the $14,000 and $28,000 number. So you wanna see which one's greater and you wanna choose that. All right, so let's say you have to sell some stocks. There's a secret to keeping more of your money, and it all depends on which shares you sell. So let's say you have to sell some stocks to buy your home. Here's what most people don't know. You can actually choose which shares you sell. It's called FIFO, LIFO, or specific ID. FIFO is what most most people do without knowing it. FIFO means first in, first out. You sell the first stocks you bought. So here's why this matters. The oldest shares usually have the biggest gains, and the biggest gains has the biggest taxes. So for example, if you bought a stock in 2012 compared to now, it probably has gone up because people understand that time in market is better than timing the market. LIFO is last in, first out. So you sell the shares you recently bought first. Now this is hard to do. So this is why the wealthy use the next one the most. That's the specific ID. In my opinion, it's the smarter way. So you can tell your brokerage which shares to sell in a specific ID or a lot. Check this out. We bought 100 shares at 3 different times. So we'll call it lot A, B, and C. So if you did FIFO, you would sell shares in lot A. You would pay taxes on $50 times 100, roughly $5,000 in capital gains. Then you would figure out your taxes from there. If you did LIFO, you would sell lot C. So that would be roughly $30 times 100. And again, how you get that is you subtract your current price from your cost basis. So that's the $70. Cost basis is a fancy word for what you bought the stock at. So $3,000 in gains for LIFO. If you did specific ID, you could choose lot A, lot B, or lot C. But because you're a smart home buyer and you're watching these videos, I would sell lot B. So you would be roughly $10 times 100. So that's $1,000 in gains. That's 5 times less than FIFO, which is what most people do. And we love getting more for what we put in. Leverage is fun, and hopefully you're getting a good return by watching this video. So give this video a like if you are. So here's a pro tip for specific ID. You have to ask your brokerage account if they allow it. So that's Fidelity, Vanguard, Robinhood, E-Trade. Robinhood calls it tax lots because they like to be different, but it's basically the same thing. So don't let the IRS pick for you. Choose the right shares and save a ton in taxes. All right, let's crystallize the learnings. Here's what we just covered. Number 1, you don't have to sell your stocks to buy a home. You can use tools like the SBLOC or HELOC to borrow against your assets and keep them growing. Number 2, owning a home can actually cut your taxes, especially if your itemized deductions are bigger than the standard. Number 3, and if you do have to sell some stocks, be smart about which shares you sell. Use the specific ID. As always, I try to put everything into making the best videos in the mortgage space. If you like this, please like, subscribe, and comment what you want to watch next. Also, your down payment is one part of the equation. So if you want the full home buying playbook where I talk about how to buy a home in 12 months, it's one of my most popular videos. Click here. I'll see you there. This is Nathan signing out.